Tonight on Connections Live, we'll meet a quilter with a passion for storytelling. We'll hear about a partnership between a nonprofit organization and a local business. And we'll travel back in time at Prairie. Connections Live starts right now.
Hello and welcome to Connections Live, where we showcase ordinary people with extraordinary stories. I'm Jenna Liston.
And I'm Brittany Ehrman. We have 3 great stories for you this evening, along with a special musical guest. So let's get started with our first story.
Susan Lant has been sewing her entire life, but started a business making quilts. Her workspace Studio Pro 31 is located in Yorktown, Indiana.
You know, I've always wanted to learn how to sew, and I cannot wait to see this segment, so let's take a look at Studio Pro 31.
My name is Susan Lant. I became a quilter through kind of a long journey. I started out sewing at the age of about 9 in 4-H. My mother taught me very well how to sew. I started it when I was at Ball State. I lived in Knott's Hall, and I got a sewing machine for a graduation gift. So when I got here, I needed a bathrobe, so I made myself one. And some of the other gals on my floor liked it, so they started ordering them. So that's how I had my first little sewing business, was out of Knott's Hall, 4th floor. We all had bathrobes that looked alike. I think I got my first long arm quilter in 2007, and it was the lowest entry level you could get, and so you didn't get many bells and whistles with that. And so I basically learned sewing machine repair, because every time I'd go to use it, I'd have to retime it and tear it apart. And so I finally upgraded about 4 years ago to the one I've got now, and I can get a lot more done. But I really like the idea of t-shirt quilting, because you're helping people. They've got a whole dresser full of these t-shirts that they love. They don't know what to do with them. They don't want to get rid of them. And you can cut the fronts off of the t-shirts, make squares. It empties their drawers. They can wear all their t-shirts at once, and keeps them out of the landfill. And then the leftovers I make other quilts out of. My brother also encouraged me in this, because he happened to tell me off the cuff one time that he had cut out his t-shirts into squares, and he didn't know anybody that could quilt them. And I was like, I could do it. So I got one of his done, and I've got another one. But when I finally got the first one done, I took it to him, and he's got 5 children. And I handed it to him. I said, here's your t-shirt quilt. And when he opened it up, the kids all just flocked over to it, and he immediately started telling the stories. Oh, this is when we rode bikes to San Diego, and this is when we did the cross country from San Francisco to the East Coast, and here's where we went to China. And they were just mesmerized by him telling the stories of the quilt. And I thought, oh, this is such a cool thing, that you need the narrative that goes with the t-shirt to tell people that are looking at it. So I had photographed his quilt and sent him the images and said, okay, write the narrative now. And so I can print a book then. I've got the equipment here to make photo books. So then I can give each one of his kids the book that goes with the t-shirt and the quilt, and then he gets to keep the quilt. So I thought that that's a cool thing for when you've got like maybe a grandparent that's passed away, and there's enough fabric maybe to make one memorial quilt, but then you can photograph it, and then anybody that wants to remember her and maybe doesn't want the quilt can have a little book. I moved to this space this year in May because obviously I'd outgrown my home. So for about 15 years, it's been Studio Pro 31, and I picked that name because I didn't want something with my name in it. And I try to read a proverb every day, and the 31st proverb, I was reading it one day and it was like, this is it, because the last half of that chapter talks about this woman that's this real industrial lady. She stays up late at night, she gets up early in the morning, she sews, she makes sure her domestic help has food and clothing, and she sells things in the marketplace, and her husband is political. You know, he's out there. You know, by her keeping track of the household, it frees him up to do whatever he wants to do. And she wears purple, and she sells garments. And so I thought, oh, well, that's what this should be based on, that you're industrious and you, it also told that she was a good businesswoman. It said she saw a field and she bought it, you know. So it's kind of like she's kind of not dependent on her husband, but yet, you know, they're still a family unit and they each do their own thing. And I just kind of liked that verse, or that whole chapter. So I thought, that's what I'm going to base this studio on. With this space, then, I've also started offering classes for people that want to learn to sew or learn to quilt or make their own t-shirt quilts. You can talk and you can have social sewing. You have a social internet, but here you can be social and actually complete a project. My husband was an avid motorcycle rider, and he always told me that, you know, if I die from a motorcycle accident, you know, if I die on the road on this bike, I've died a happy man. So he did pass away in December of 13, but it wasn't from a bike wreck. It was from his multiple medical conditions. And so I wanted to dedicate a part of this business to him because he watched me build it, and it was my intention that when I got through school that I would have a shop somewhere where he could come and interact with people, because he liked it. He liked to talk to people, and then, you know, I could quilt. Since he's passed away, I thought these quilts that I make out of the scraps that I can give away, I've just gotten an emblem, a logo designed and embroidered that says, it's the front of a motorcycle, and it says, enjoy your ride. And so that was his mantra. You know, whenever he'd go off on his bike, if he went by himself, I'd say, enjoy your ride. And he always said, you know, if it's this last one, that's fine. So that kind of brings back the philanthropic part of quilting too. Quilters are always givers.
Wow, what a great start to our show. Those quilts she makes look so intricate, and she's so passionate about storytelling with her projects.
To find out about more of Susan's and her business, search Studio Pro 31 on Facebook or check out her blog at www.studiopro31.com.
We have more great stories for you coming up next. Don't go away. Connections Live will be right back.
A full life, measured in seats, starts with the right ones early on. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Learn how to prevent deaths and injuries by using the right car seat for your child's age and size.
Welcome back to Connections Live. For our next story, we'll get the chance to hear about an upcoming fundraising event that is bringing together two great organizations here in Munsee.
The Animal Rescue Fund, or ARF, is a nonprofit organization that aims to help abandoned animals find their forever homes. They partnered with Munsee Lanes in order to raise funds for their facilities and operation.
Let's hear more about ARF and Munsee Lanes.
ARF stands for the Animal Rescue Fund, and what it is a no-kill animal home, so to speak. I don't want to say shelter because we're not like a normal shelter. We are here in Munsee, Indiana. The upcoming event that we have right now is our bowling alley, like the Bow Wow Bowling. But we are constantly fundraising because we exist on donations from the community and our fundraising events. So our bowling tournament is one of our bigger fundraisers, but we're constantly doing little fundraisers pretty much all the time. Munsee Lanes has been kind enough to have us last year. We had our first ever bowling tournament and it was fun. We did quite well. We embrace any help at all that we get. Even if it's $10, we're grateful for it. So we're very grateful to Paula and Munsee Lanes for sponsoring this and having us there, and it's a lot of fun. The proceeds come back here to ARF, and all of it goes toward the animal and their care, veterinary cost, and then just the daily upkeep of food, that kind of thing, but primarily our veterinary cost. All of our animals are spayed and neutered. They're all vaccinated. We do everything we can medically for them, and it's quite expensive. So most of our money we earn from fundraising goes just to save more of these guys. I think what I would love for people to know about ARF is what a special place it is, how much we do love these animals, and how hard we try to help as many of them as we possibly can. We encourage people to come out, to volunteer, and to see for themselves. But you can see it's their home until they go home. And it's a different way of sheltering. It's more of a stress-free way. You can tell that they're quite loved and they're quite lovable. And we just want to get the word out there that we are here, that these homes are full of life. They're all needing good homes so that we can continue to help more. So, and too, that we're very grateful for everything everyone does for us. I founded ARF 16 years ago. Again, we've never had funding. We have existed on the kindness of our community. And I think the biggest thing to share is our gratefulness that we are still here, we're still going, and it's thanks to the community that we are. And we are very, very grateful for it. Not nearly as grateful as they are. So we're grateful. Thank you.
Those puppies are so adorable, and I love bowling. I will definitely have to go to this event.
You know, we could go together.
Yes.
The second annual Bow Wow and Alley Cat Bowling Fundraiser will be held at Munsee Lanes Thursday, February 21st from 2 to 4:30.
To learn more about the event, check out ARF's website at www.munseearf.com.
For our final story tonight, we were able to travel to Conner Prairie, a living, breathing historical park located in Fishers, Indiana.
The organization is holding its 19th century Hearthside soup supper through the end of March. Guests can travel back in time and help prepare and eat a meal in the historic 1823 Conner House.
Let's learn more about the Hearthside suppers at Conner Prairie.
The event you're attending tonight is the Hearthside dinners. They're offered every January, February, March here at Conner Prairie. 31 years ago is when it began, and it began mostly as a nice weekend evening program for adults to come and maybe have a nice meal and experience a little bit of history here at Conner Prairie.
One of the goals of the Hearthside suppers and of Conner Prairie in general is to kind of evoke those emotional responses and help people connect to their own past, right? You know, we play characters that weren't necessarily people from this time period, but that are like people from this time period. So getting them to connect with people like for example, my family was around here in the 1830s, so getting to know the characters as I know them, I get to know my own family in a certain way, and I hope that we can help guests with that as well. And I think that food is an excellent medium to do that. I know that in the village during the regular season, people come in and they're always like, what are you cooking in here, and when can I try some? People can really get in there and kind of cultivate those memories and stir up that nostalgic feeling and really get to know themselves by learning about the past.
Oh, it's such an incredible experience. When you come into the house, you're greeted in the kitchen, which is always a place that everyone seems to gather anyway. And you introduce yourselves. It's all lit by candlelight, and it's starting to get dark, so it's really sets the environment or sets the ambiance for the entire night.
And then before too long, oh no, it turns out that we haven't kind of gotten all the cooking done. So if you wouldn't mind, if you could come into the kitchen and help us a little bit. I know it's highly individual to ask such a thing of people, but especially guests in a fancy house like this one. But they'll come into the kitchen and help us make a cornbread, help us. This season we're doing, they'll help us with some beets, help us make some beets, help us churn butter. Everyone loves the butter, right? That's always a favorite.
Churn butter, churn. Isaiah's at the garden gate, waiting for his butter cake. Churn butter, churn. Churn butter, churn.
And again, they're helping to make recipes that are historically appropriate. They have a historic precedence for the time period, and that were made with things that would have been available at this time of the year.
And then once everything is finished, they go back into the dining room. We follow in with the first course of soup, and the night goes from there.
Like this the entire time. It's all right. It's good for posture. Yeah, you can.
Everyone wants a little entertainment after supper, right? So they'll come around into this room here, and it's kind of up to the host at that point. You can sing a song, you can play a game, you can talk about news that happened. And then before too long, it's time to go. Before they go, though, one of my favorite parts of the evening is we take a minute to step out of character and tell them about who we really are. So it gives us a chance to explain, my name is so-and-so, and this is what I do here at Conner Prairie and beyond. And I think that's really neat.
How did you receive them?
Oh, I received these uncrossed.
No.
I think it's a very warm environment. I think that there's a lot of hustle and bustle, especially in the kitchen, right? But I think that it makes me think of Thanksgiving. I don't know, I have a pretty big family, right? And I think at Thanksgiving time, everyone's in the kitchen and then everyone's in the living room and we're all kind of mixing and milling around to help and prepare things as we need to. And I kind of think as Hearthside as that. You're kind of with your family, a pseudo-family for an evening, but you get that kind of familial relationship, and I really enjoy that.
I am receiving them crossed. I am passing them uncrossed.
Quite so.
So off to the haberdasher she did go. That's that she could run. She found the finest that there was. Now soldier, soldier, will you marry me? With your musket, pipe, and drum. Oh, how can I marry such a pretty little girl when I have a wife of my own?
What an interesting experience for guests. The food sounded pretty great too.
There are multiple events scheduled every week until March 22nd, so if you still have plenty of time to plan your Hearthside supper.
To find out more details about the event, visit www.connerprairie.org.
And that's all for our stories this evening, but don't go away. A special musical guest will be joining us right after the break. Connections Live will be right back.
Jimmy can't sing and Tommy can't dance, so we're gonna put some ants in their pants. Aww, they walk like a monkey, hop like a bunny. Isn't that funny? Ants in their pants, they've got ants in their pants. They've got ants in their pants, they've got ants in their pants. Ants in their pants, they've got ants in their pants. They got ants in their pants. They've got ants in their pants.
One more time.
Jimmy can't sing and Tommy can't dance, so we're gonna put some ants in their pants. Aww.
Kids will spend 22 minutes watching us, the super duper party troopers, sing about ants in their pants.
Isn't that funny? Ants in their pants, they've got ants in their pants. They've got ants in their pants.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes, twice a day. They have the time.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Welcome back to Connections Live. We're happy to have a musical group with us tonight, Mint. Thanks guys for coming out and joining us. How long have you guys been together as a group?
Well, we actually started dating 3 years ago. We slowly started playing together. She first picked up a guitar. I started teaching her a few things, and she took off by herself. And then we decided to switch over to bass and start the band and get a drummer, and we just said, why not? Let's start.
Great. And what would you say influences your music?
Every day influences our music. We're not too big into whining about ourselves with our music. We kind of like to write stories. But as far as like genres go, a lot of 90s music, Elliott Smith, Sonic Youth, pretty much anything from the 90s grunge-wise, and the White Stripes.
And how'd you guys get together, and what influences your music today?
Well, she actually sent me on a drum scouting, and we couldn't find a drummer for a long time, and we just happened to run into our current drummer, and it kind of just took off from there.
And can you tell us anything about your EP recording?
Yeah, we're actually getting ready to start recording our first EP. We don't have a specific date. You can listen to the few songs that we do have online right now, though.
Great. And is there any upcoming events that we should know about to go see your music?
I think we might be playing, not this Tuesday, but the next Tuesday in Richmond, Indiana at the E Street Pub. Other than that, just putting out the music. You can go online and see the music. Go to our Facebook, which just find Mint, and all of our links will be there.
Great.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us here at Connections Live, where we showcase ordinary people
who share those extraordinary stories. Why don't you guys play us out something?
All right, thank you.
On the wall, no one won't stop ticking.